Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode. I'm one of your hosts, Sami. I'm a communication coach who loves to help people break through their invisible barriers and help their teams thrive in the workplace.
You sound like you practice that. I'm super proud of you. I'm Angela Belford, and I am an executive coach and an author and a speaker. And oh my gosh, my absolute favorite thing on the planet is helping people figure out what is holding them back, because I want people to design a freaking awesome life legitimately. Wrote the book 10 years ago, still keeping a dream alive with the podcast. And I find that they've got things holding them back. And I like to help coach them through those things so they can live a more freaking awesome life. See, when you don't practice, then you end up with a very long.
Well, what's really funny, I think it's hilarious that you said I practiced. We reminded ourselves, 2.5 seconds before we hit record, oh yeah, we're going to introduce ourselves. I quite literally improv'd mine. I did not practice it at all, and I'm really glad that it came out so good. So this is the first one where you guys will hear, but part of it is that there's new listeners who join the conversation every week. So we're going to start introducing ourselves so that no matter where you are in your podcast listening journey with us, you'll always know who we are. Speaking of who we are a mother-daughter duo who loves to have hard conversations, deep conversations, fun conversations to help you all live a more freaking awesome life. So today, I will say, I would argue, I don't know, that this is a conversation that's going to help us have a freaking awesome life. She says as a grumpy pants. I am aware it probably is blah, blah, blah. We're going to be talking about disappointment today, and I don't want to. And I've mentioned it in other episodes. I don't like talking about disappointment. I just like, bleh, it's muddy. And I like to have places whenever I'm communicating about stuff that I can I have a place of acceptance within our hard feelings. And I'm not yet there on my journey when it comes to disappointment. And so...
Okay, well, here's my favorite thing that people say about disappointment. It's like, oh, well, you know that disappointment is just because you have unrealistic expectations, so you should just have no expectations. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like apathy.
That sounds
like numbness.
Boring, dull life.
Yeah.
No.
Now, here's the other thing. Those that are longtime listeners are like, ooh, Angela has struggled with disappointment. I have had a huge fear of disappointment to the point that I'm just like, I'm going to brace myself. I don't want to feel disappointed. I will feel everything else, but I do not want to feel disappointed. And it's winning me over.
What? Ugh, I don't like that.
Here's the thing is that when we're afraid of stuff, we run away from it. And when we run away from it, it chases us down and tackles us. That's the deal. This is what I'm thinking, is that with disappointment, I have finally been like, fine. You want to sit by me on the bus? Fine. I'm like the pouty kid that is in the bus that is like, I don't want to sit by you. No, I'm going to scoot over and not make room for you on the bus. And then the disappointment is going to sit in front of me or behind me and just pick at me. I'm sorry to use so many physical metaphors, but I feel like a snotty teenager when I talk about disappointment. And what I'm finally learning, not good at it, but what I'm learning is if I just slide over and let it sit there, it's less annoying. It's less oppressive. And I can just be like, oh, this too shall pass. So I think that's where I'm at on my journey right now. Is because it's not that I love disappointment. We're not besties. But there's a willingness.
To just jump right in, I think that part of my resistance is that and maybe this is a part where I am trying to level set expectations, and it's not necessarily lower expectations, but it is know what I am trying to what is my minimum viable outcome? that I can accept and tolerate within this. So I think about like going on vacation with my family. We went spring break. We got to go to the beach this past year, and my I was not disappointed with the trip. My expectations is that I was going to have to parent in a different location. That did not mean I was having a week off from taking care of my three children if they're all going to be there in the room with me. And there's an unrealistic expectation that some people have going into they're like vacation, it's relaxing time, it's take off, it's away from work. I did have a correct expectation that I would have to parent and tend to and care for my children while we were traveling. And so then I was not disappointed that my kids required care and nurture and tending to while we were in a different place. It was like, no, that actually to me just feels like a realistic it is a realistic
It
expectation.
just
But
tracks.
I wasn't, and I think that there has been a lot of my journey with disappointment that there are things that I did expect that were unrealistic, or just like the math doesn't add up on that situation. It is not something where I'm like, oh, I'm expecting too much from life. It feels more like I don't know why you thought that you would be able to go to a bank and withdraw $100 if you only had $10 in the bank. Like it's like these are the facts of it. Like you have small children, Sammy, right now. You're not going to get to sleep, 12-hour days on vacation. That's a little bit tricky. So when I can like stay in my season, when I can say like, oh, I will have time within my life where I'm not going to have my kids on vacation, when I'm not going to get to have kids marveling at the sand and the water and the things that they find in the water and how the waves work, and that they're just fascinated with every little bit of it, and getting that goodness comes with they are also going to get cranky in the afternoon when they got tired and they were hungry and they want their snack now. Like, I'm not mad that I get both. I am like soaking in that this particular season has good and has bad, and that is great. And I will one day, I'm sure I'll long for and be nostalgic for the wonder that they had, while also getting to enjoy sleeping in till whenever I want and getting to set up a vacation that is just what Sammy wants, and I don't have to make it appeasing to everybody else. And so there is a level of acceptance within that I don't feel as disappointed, because I'm like, well, I knew what I was getting. I was clear about the outcome that I was looking for. And so I don't know. There's so many things that I think I reframe, or what is my like. Maybe I am just like lowering my expectations, but I'm not doing it
I think
pessimistically.
I think there is. I think we have to break it down by different sectors of our life. That's a
We
weird
do.
thing to think about it, because when like I was recently we had dinner plans with people and they were running late, and the other couple we were meeting, I go, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just used to people that have toddlers, like they just don't show up on time." It has nothing to do with how much they value our time, how much they do whatever. Like in that season with little ones, I have learned I like how I feel if I have appropriate expectations for people, because then that maintains relationship, right?
Hmm.
And for you, setting the expectations on vacation actually maintained relationship. You valued relationship over whatever else you might have hoped to accomplish during that time. I think there's other areas of my life where I I do want to set high expectations, because I do want to try to reach new heights, and I got to try some things that don't work. And so I think in those areas, like if I think about pitching myself for articles or speaking or even publishing a book, those things, if I don't do that and I reduce my expectations, that I actually shrink my life. I think that's the wisdom, is are your expectations, monitoring your expectations, is it going to improve relationship, or is it going to shrink your life? And I would say that improving relationship, managing your expectations to improve relationship, is growing your life.
Hmm.
Managing your expectations so that you don't try new things and you don't try hard things is shrinking. And maybe that's what disappointment is trying to teach us.
Mm. Well, because I think that I can think of people who are disappointed in me. Sometimes a lot. I don't know. I have a high tolerance for doing what I'd like to do in the way that I'd like to do it, and if it bothers somebody else, like I'm I'm sorry that you feel that way. It's not actually going to change my actions. Um, I have one example. I have a friend who, for a very long time, was really upset that I was not the one who initiated conversation more, and she was very disappointed in me for not being the one who initiated conversations. And it got to the point that it was a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy because I knew no matter how long it had been, whenever I initiated a conversation, it wouldn't have been soon enough, and that disappointment was going to get communicated to me, and which did not motivate me to reach out very much. So then I reached out less, and then it got tricky, and like I don't know how to not crassly say I just don't care that it disappointed them, because
They have
I
unrealistic
that is
expectations.
an unrealistic expectation of me, particularly in a season where this person was single and I was a young mom, married with small children. And I, at this particular time, I did not have other friends who, I didn't have a lot of friends who had kids. And so I'm like the only one within my circle. So I feel like I am navigating a lot of this. Like my college friends, my friends from previously have not all engaged in this part of the journey yet. And I'm like, you don't your lack of empathy for my season of life does not change that I am in a different season of life and I am keeping human beings alive. I don't have time to initiate text conversations, but that does not change that I care about you deeply, that I want to hear about your life, and that I would like to be in friendship with you. But if your friendship requires me to be the one to initiate all those things, like I only have so many dollars to spend in a day. I'm real sorry that that was not how I did that, and I just sort of accepted their disappointment and like didn't let it affect me. And so
I
I
love
don't know how
this
to be that
example.
person.
I love this example because I think that people could apply this to parenting. Because I know a bunch of people who think them expressing their disappointment repeatedly to their children is going to motivate their children to do something different.
Mm.
And that is foolish. That is a fool's errand. And I don't know how to tell you. Like, I would love for somebody to bring me an honest, actual example of this expressing disappointment has helped me. It has improved my relationship with my kid. It has made them get better grades. I would factor in that if it did, I bet I will be coaching your child in 10 years when they are a young adult and they are struggling with I'm not enough and my love everything. Oh my word. 20 somethings. I happen to be coaching several right now, and coaching them through love is conditional upon me doing the right thing, getting the right grades, and them struggling with I'm not lovable because I'm not perfect. Mind blowing. So you may think it's effective, but I'm telling you, they'll be in my coach's room paying money to unlearn the belief that you are watering and fertilizing, that your love is conditional, and that they have to do something to earn your love and value.
And maybe this is the
Damn, that
crux
was hard.
though.
Sorry, I'm
The
not normally
truth
that
though.
harsh, but I mean,
The
I'm
truth. I think though that this is where like disappointment feels like it is weaponized. It is
yes,
something that is a tool used against other people, and maybe it is my actual study background in the like art of rhetoric and persuasion. It doesn't persuade people.
it
It is
doesn't.
not, if you're using disappointment as a persuasion tactic, like it's not gonna work. And even like that goes into politics, and that goes into behavior change, that goes into all of these things. If you're being like, well, I'm so disappointed in you, it's extremely unlikely you're going to get the behavior change that you want. You might in the short term, in the same way that fear can get you a behavior change that you want in the short term, but your long term damage is going to be so much worse. And maybe that is my like, I freaking hate this. I don't like disappointment. I would like to take a shift. When you talk about the disappointment that you sit next to on the bus, Angela, can you characterize that more? Like, are you, I know this is like our middle, are you able to share like what is something that you were disappointed about and how it happened? And like, okay, I'll just sit next to you.
Um, I mean, everything. There's a lot of things.
Everything. I'm just disappointed in
Everything. No.
everything. That sounds very Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada of you. Just like everything disappoints me. I don't know.
Well, sorry, my brain was going down a different path of because I have the alternative question for you
Oh,
of
okay.
like when I'm in a relationship with somebody and I have needs that this person, we agreed to get married. And my definition of married is that we spend time together, that we talk to each other, that we, you know, and when you, when you then have a situation where you say, okay, here's what I think that means. This is what I think that means. And they say, oh, me too. I agree. Yes, that's exactly what that means. It means that we are going to talk about our finances and it means that we are going to be open with how we feel about things. And then they're not. And you're like, well, now what do I do with that? Because am I supposed to just let people just treat me like crap?
Mm.
Am I supposed to just like have zero expectations for my loved one who agreed to this set of norms and values that we would treat each other, how we would treat one another, and then they don't? I don't actually know. That's the kind of disappointment that I'm learning to sit with. Is because what
Mm.
I'm learning is that my disappointment doesn't invite behavior change. And so I got to figure out a new method of communicating.
Yeah.
I have,
This goes back to the stoicism and accepting people for where they're at and who they are, but how do you accept people but you also want them to grow and to change, and how do you
mhm,
actually just let other people without just being completely nihilistic
apathy.
and
Hmm.
oblivious to the world?
Well, and some of the way is that then when that person pushes back a little bit and is like, well, how come you don't want to spend time with me? And how come you don't want to, why don't you tell me things like you used to? Wow, you didn't tell. I'm like, I don't tell you things because we had an agreement of what it was to be in a relationship. Your actions don't match that agreement.
Mm.
Your words say one thing, your actions are another. Therefore, I have to figure out a different way. And for me, I like to talk deeply about things. I like to share what's in my heart. I like to sometimes have to tell you the same story like three different times because I'm telling it from different angles. And I need somebody that'll hang in there with me while I tell it from a different angle. I also need somebody that'll be like, no, 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 you told me this exact version of the story. Just so you remember, you did tell me this story. If you're telling a different angle, I'll listen. But if it's the exact same story, I'm like, perfect. And if you don't, then I have to figure out how do I get my needs met? And how do I go, okay, this is not what you
Hmm.
this even though this is what you said you wanted, it's not what you actually want. And so your actions aren't matching. Now, am I perfect at this? Heck no. Have I rage screamed at people in the last 6 to 8 weeks? It's just super embarrassing when you're writing a book about the invisible edge. What fuels your success might be what limits it. Oh yeah, hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. It's also what makes me a great coach is because I'm still in it and I'm still growing and I'm still learning. Um, but what I'm learning, what I would say is that trying to weaponize my disappointment to make other people do what I want them to do, I was just control freak, miss. And it's ineffective.
It's also like probably one of the harshest things I think we've said on here in a while is that like your disappointment can be weaponized and inadvertently. It does
Yeah.
not even take like a fully diagnosed narcissist to to use
Mm-mm.
disappointment as in this way. I think that's also for me sometimes what makes it. Sometimes I get more frustrated when people are doing things accidentally or thoughtlessly, and
Mm,
I'm like, it would be easier for me if you were being mean on purpose than you're
right.
being mean on accident. It'd be easier if I could tell you were specifically on purpose using your disappointment to make me feel bad, to try make me feel bad, versus you did it accidentally.
There's the word. People
Try,
try to make you feel bad. And,
yeah,
and you can like, I mean, maybe it's because I have toddler grandchildren again, but there are times where I can just look at people and be like, wow, our 2-year-old's coming out.
yeah,
I Part of what I've had to do to kind of decouple my own behavior from other people's disappointment is that I had to figure out that I want to work to my own standards of excellence. So I had a situation where I had made I had a contractual agreements with clients. That means I am a woman of my word. They were paying me money. This is a very different thing than my marriage relationship. We've agreed to things. This is like legally binding contracts. This is what I will deliver. And these people were expressing their disappointment in very unhelpful ways. I also learned to quit saying they're being a jerk, they're doing all these things. I'm like, you're expressing your disappointment in unhelpful ways, or they're being grumpy. Like, I had to decouple those, and I had to realize that, like, I was going like, oh, well, if you're just going to be disappointed in me, why should I even try? Why bother? It's never going to be good enough for you. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, that's what landed me back in therapy last year. And I had to go, this is my standard of excellence. And my standard of excellence is very high
yes, it
for
is.
myself. It's
Mm-hmm.
very high for myself. I
And for your
try
people around you, your team.
I try really hard. If we have contractual agreements with our clients, we do have very high standards of excellence. And I've had to go like, I can't manage all of these people's expectations. Like, they're going to get disappointed. Like, they're on their own journey.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own. There are things that disappoint me that I'll be caught off guard by. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was going to disappoint me. And I'll be like, okay, wow, that is information. So sit down, disappointment. What's that about? When it's an indicator, it helped me
Can I
push.
recall? No, can I bring up a situation in which
Sure.
I knew you were disappointed, having known you for a long time? I do not think that you were working really hard to not let it out and let it be known how disappointed you were. It comes from just a long relationship that there are times where it's like you you can do everything you can, and I still can see your face, and I still know you and care about you, and I can interpret things. But I want to say that that's a little bit different than somebody like
Yeah.
actively spewing their disappointment, being like, no, no, I am a friend and I can see these things in you. We had our very first family business forum, and the room that we were in, we had probably about 35 people who were going to be in attending, and the room we were in was a room for 300. And I, I, I hold by. I did the best that I could with the time and the information that I had, and to do the decorating, to do the planning, to do different things like that. And when you walked in on the day of the event, you were definitely disappointed. Um,
You don't know that because you weren't there for 20 minutes because you assigned yourself to go get coffee, which is where I was disappointed. Because I'm like, why did you not send one of the interns to get coffee? You were like, but I'm driving right by. It should have been easy.
it should have been easy. Um,
I for sure was disappointed
you for
because I was
sure
like,
were. And
but I
that
was more
I
disappointed with the timing than and like you not being there than like decorations, whatever. Yeah, I mean, sure.
and there were lots of pieces of it though that I think that like it's hard when it can like happen like that. And then it was like, okay, now Angela, you got like 35 minutes or 45 minutes, and you're gonna go be on stage and like be all high energy and the amazingness that Angela is. And it was like, great, cool, big feelings in my body.
Oh, and my favorite was one of the people we were working with that said, just calm down. And I'm like, I'm gonna need you to walk out this room because that is the least effect. When has that ever been effective at getting
Right.
somebody to calm down when you just tell them calm down? Like, anyway, what's so
I
funny is we
like
taught on that thing that day.
I do like to invite, if that moment happens for people, to be like, what do you need to get through this moment? I
Yeah.
know that like bottling and stuffing your feelings is not a very effective thing to do for long-term happiness and emotional resilience. You're in a moment right now where you are needing to perform, execute, deliver, whatever it is.
I call it
What do
reset.
you
I've,
need to show up for this exact moment right now? And sometimes that
yeah.
means I need to go to the bathroom and I need to have a quick 5 minute cry and then I'll be back ready to go. Sometimes that means you need to go take a walk. Sometimes, like, whatever that
Yeah.
is. But that's the question, to be like, hey, the end result, I do need you to calm down here in the next like 20 minutes. What can I do to
Yeah.
help you get there?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
How can I help you be ready to deliver on the promise that you've made? You've made a promise that you are going to offer a beautiful training and
mhm,
you want to show up and you want that to be how can we help you get to the point where you can deliver on your standard of excellence? Really is what you were saying. And I'm like, I will
right.
get there. I just need somebody to give me a minute. And I may need to
I,
say a few words.
what? So for me, on that day, I remember like it was our very first event we did like that. And I personally was disappointed that we only had 35 people there.
Mm,
I felt like the content that we were delivering was worth 1,000 people being in the room. I felt like the people that we could help and the impact we could have, and it was not for lack of effort. Like I told a ton of people about it. I was at a lot of networking events. I handed out a lot of cards. I didn't not do work. I put in a lot of effort, and I did not feel like I received the value from that effort that I was hoping for. And that's hard. And I don't know what to do with those things, especially because it's not just like, well, Sami, if I want to write a book, do I write like me writing a book is on me and only me. Me selling a book, me selling a ticket for an event, me doing things like that is required. Like there is an interaction, there is an interpersonal connection to it. I have no idea what to do with that kind of disappointment. That one, I am like, oh, I just like,
I would okay, I
ugh.
have the antidote for you.
Okay.
Perspective. That's what it is. Because while I was very disappointed that day, and here's the thing that's hard, is that on that event, I was super busy the 3 weeks before. I don't think I did put in the effort and the time, and I was meeting with the team regularly. They had it. They had it. Everybody felt really good about it. And then their definition of we've got it and my definition of they have it were off completely. And I was like horrified by that because I was just like, oh crap, I should have asked better questions. Like I was beating myself up because I was like, should I take off the day before and make sure everything is ready? And they're like, we got it, we got it. And so when you delegate, you can absolutely run a huge risk of disappointment. But here's what I know. I had a conversation just yesterday with a person that was in the room that day, and they actually won my coaching package. Think because we drew for the coaching package and the other people that were going to be coaching were like, oh, no, 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 you got this one. And we actually had a profit because we had a couple of people sponsor that event. We had a profit on that event, even though 35 people showed up. Like the relationships that I made that day with those connections, like changed the complete trajectory of my life. There is one of those relationships, and I see the person once a year, and I cannot, I maybe see them a couple times a year, cannot put a value on how important they are. Just having a cheerleader for us, they now promote that event, they participated in the event the next year. Like, I mean, such a big cheerleader. How much, how much is that worth to me? Like the blip of that couple of hours that I was disappointed. And furthermore, and I just wrote a post about this actually, was because there was only 35 people in the room, at the end of the day, when it was open networking, we thought that everybody would just scatter. And they stayed. And they stayed. And they stayed for like 35, 45, and we were like, they're still hanging out because they were finally in a room of people that got the challenges of being in a family business. And I mean, it was just shocking. And then the next year, we had a few more people that were there, and those people needed to be in the room. And so for me, I think that's maybe why I get okay with the disappointment, is because there's almost always some silver lining that's coming out of it. Unless it is like on the relationship side where there is like, I've used just disappointment to try to get my way, or to try to get, um, I have to coach my team regularly. You guys, I'm going to feel disappointment. It is not your responsibility to manage my feelings. It is my responsibility to manage my feelings. And I'm allowed to feel disappointed, right? And your perfectionistic tendencies, like, y'all going to have to feel what you feel, but I'm going to feel disappointed sometimes, and I'm going to manage that, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I am using it incorrectly, like, I see the value of the good that comes out of it. Like, I look at Be Freaking Awesome that I wrote in 2016, that here we are still. We named our business this. We named our podcast Be Freaking Awesome. When I published this book, I didn't deal with a couple of hours of disappointment. I dealt with months and years of disappointment with how I handled the publishing of this book. And yet still, like, in the month of April, we had over 1,000 people listen to our podcast, and people are telling us about how it's impacting them, and that they're making decisions about going to therapy and all of those things. And so I think the perspective of that there is good can still come out of it.
Angela, if you could give like a piece of advice or an encouragement, not really an advice, when disappointment shows up, what do you hope can be the first instinct? And this is something that we can work towards, build that habit towards, but what is it that you would encourage to try let this be the first instinct when you notice that disappointment coming up?
Well, for starters, when you first notice humiliation, when you first notice grief, when you first notice sadness, when you first notice anything that you are not necessarily wanting to cozy up to, it is simply an indicator. Like, your body and your brain is trying to get your attention. Likely, the disappointment is because it's dangerous. Like, the disappointment from that day was like, oh my gosh, people are going to think we don't know what we're doing. Like, I tell you about that beautiful relationship, and when I was having the conversation with him, I'm like, I don't know, someday we might get our stuff together. But here I am, a week out, need a favor. Mm-hmm. I try to do too many things. So thank you for helping bail me out. It's an indicator light. And so what is it an indicator of? Wow, I had really hoped to have a deeper relationship and that a deeper conversation. I now know when I go to family dinner at Sammy's house, I don't go with the expectation that I'm going to have a very deep conversation with my daughter. Like, I got to schedule that some other time, because my sweet grandbabies love them, and they're going to crawl up in my lap. And then when we get to have a conversation, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And so it's an indicator of something that you needed, that you wanted, that you hoped for. The other thing is that how can you get that need met? If you need deeper relationships, then are there ways that you can begin to listen to some of our episodes on making adult friends as adults? Is there a way that you can develop a deeper relationship with yourself? Really stop and pause and say, I wonder what's going on with me with this. Because it's not devastating. Mm-hmm. It just is.
If I could add like a real practical within what you said, you can use a timer if you would like. If you notice a feeling coming up within you, give yourself and say, hey, I'm going to set 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'm going to feel this thing. There's a TV show, Shrinking. They talk about this.
He sets a 15-minute timer, puts on sad, sad music, and he goes, feel really sad for 15 whole minutes, and then put it away.
And then put it away. What's the worst that'll happen? I mean, really and truthfully, taking a moment to just say, like, okay, fine, we're just going to notice that this is here and give it airtime.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is there space for you to do something like that within your life? Because I think that pushing it away, closing the door, trying to kick it out fast as you possibly can might not lead you to a wholehearted life where you feel like integrated within yourself and feel equipped to handle whatever it is that might come your way. But if you have, hey, I've got a system for this, whatever big feelings that I don't know what to do with come my way, I actually have a whole process. That is actually one way that we feel more resilient to handle the unknown, is that we know if something big happens, I know what to do and, quote, how to handle it, at least what my first instinct is going to be. You could just decide, this is what I'm going to do when that happens. I'm going to go excuse myself. Maybe you say every time in troubles, go sit in the bathroom, do what you got to do. Like, just notice it. Give it a little bit of space.
I do want to remind our listeners, we listen to you. In addition to you listening to us, this episode is happening because in episode 211, we talked about disappointing met expectations. Like, I wanted something and I got it, and now I'm disappointed. And we said, if you want us to talk about more about disappointment, let us know. And people did. And so therefore, the follow-up to this, if you're like feeling kind of like, this was heavy, they were harsh. Even more for you, 211, where we talk about when things that we wanted, we get them, and then they're not exactly what we had hoped for. You also can, we talk a lot about feeling your feelings and emotional cycles in episode 80 and episode 98. So hope that you will stay tuned for, or flashback, stay tuned, because, well, what you're going to stay tuned for is actually more yummy feelings. Woo! We're going to be talking about guilt and when to lean into it and when to go, thank you, that's unhelpful. So I think that's what the theme is. This seems to be our May theme. We're talking about emotions, and you don't have to let them just overtake. You can just, if they're unhelpful, let them go.
I love it. Except I don't love it, but like, it's good. It's good stuff. Good work that we're doing, talking about these things. Thanks everybody for listening. We're so grateful for each and every one of you. And until next time, we hope you guys go be freaking awesome.